Nick Fuentes is supposed to be some type of leader of the white supremacists in the United States. I don't know. That's what I'm gathering on Twitter and from his post, but I've never actually heard the guy speak. So let's take a look at this discussion on the Patrick Bet David podcast about our favorite subject or the favorite subject in podcast land in the United States, the Jews. Let's talk about the Jews. Let's hear what Nick Fuentes and Patrick Bet David have to say about the Jews, and then I'll give you my opinion. Take a look.
What do you think about between the two communities, Muslim and Jews? Which one concerns you more?
Jews, for sure.
Tell me why.
More powerful. They're more powerful.
So more powerful in a way. You're talking the fact that they have money, finance, Hollywood. Is that what you're?
Yeah, they have more position in American society.
And how do you think they got that?
I think they got it because they are extremely connected. They're a transnational entity. You know, this is how the Rothschilds got started. Their superpower is that they live everywhere, and they have their Jewish identity supersedes their local identity. So a Jewish person in America or in Germany or in France or in the UK, they can all talk to each other and work together.
Do you think that's a bad thing?
Not in and of itself. It is detrimental for America, though.
Is it detrimental, though? Because, I'm a Syrian, right? Mm-hmm. And I wish Assyrians were more like this. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you why I relate to them. We don't have a country. Assyrians used to have a country. We used to be the first warriors. We were written about in the Bible. You read it all over the place. You know, the history we had, the things we invented. And then we became a little cocky. And God came in and was like, listen, man, relax, Assyrians. You ain't going to come and be the king of the jungle. It's me. And you hear the stories about that they built a tower to go all the way to the top because we are Syrians and, and then we failed. It's like, no, look at you now. No one knows who Syrians are. You don't even have a country, right? We know the land in Iraq or wherever you are. You don't have it anymore. I think when a community becomes too cocky, the man upstairs is going to handle that himself, right? But in a sense, when you see they went from a small community to have this much influence, isn't that almost impossible for them to pull off? Like, isn't that? So it either produces one of two things. I'm not intimidated. I'm not a guy that is envious or jealous or, oh my God, that guy's richer than me. That guy's this guy's. I'm not. I want to see what they did and what worked for them. For example, to me, when I think about Jews, I think about Mormons, I think about Scientologists. I used to have an office where half the office was all Scientology, and I learned all these phrases, assist, or, I went to their church and Dianetics and L. Ron Hubbard and what he would say when you get a headache, you do this, and all these weird extras. I'm like, oh, interesting. How much money did we give? $200,000. Why'd you give that? But let me tell you, those guys that were in, they had each other's back. It was a fraternity that you wish family members were like this, right? I think Scientologists have it maybe more than Jews. So I think Jews will bite each other a little bit, not as much. And then Mormons have each other's back. Of course, there's a falling out as well where people come out and they'll talk about God makers or, what Gordon B. Hinckley. And I've read all of that stuff from over the years. But what's wrong with them winning at the highest level?
Well, I agree with you that it is remarkable, and it is actually ominous how much they've achieved. Here's the problem, though. America's an open society. The premise of this country is it's self-government, of, by, for the people. There's a slight egalitarian idea that we are all citizens. And that's why I say it's detrimental, is that if Jewish people are Jewish first, not of, by, and for America, but of, by, and for the Jewish nation, this is problematic when they're in positions of power, because are they looking out for all of us, or are they looking out for themselves first? And when you look at the Israel policy, that's where people start to say, I think you're looking out for yourselves first. I think you're biased. And unfortunately, you're using the public purse and American soldiers to fight your own battles. And that's the problem. It's not, I don't have hatred for them. I don't have a problem with them in themselves or even what they do. It's just that with our system, that doesn't work.
You know what I would say to that as well? If they use the American soldiers in their advantage and all that other stuff. Okay. Who negotiated that deal? Some president negotiated that deal. Someone said yes to it, right? When they say, well, let me tell you, that person is afraid to platform this guy because he's afraid his donors are going to go and do this. And it's Israel's fault. No, it's not. It's the guy who runs it's not Israel's fault. What are you talking about? You know, this guy sends me a message, APAC. I got a text, not a text, what do you call it in the X? A DM I get from APAC, okay? Hey, we'd like you to come to Israel. We'd like to invite you. I'm sure many people get that message, right? They send it. I said, I'm going to come with my pastor. I don't want you to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. I want to bring my crew because I want to go see Jerusalem. You're not going to see me putting the what do they call it? The
kippah.
I'm not going to put that on. But guess what? I respect the culture, and I want to go to Gaza, and I would ask for some idea of protection that if we can go to Gaza, show it to her. I want to see this stuff. I want to go with my pastor. First time around, I'm not going to take my kids. Maybe the second, third time, I'll take my kids. But to me, I don't put the onus on, like when a guy's like, that guy has slept with so many people, this, and the girl said yes. No, but you don't understand. He's a man whore. But the girl said yes. So is it Israel or is it the girl? Do you understand what point I'm trying to make here?
Absolutely.
So to me, it's kind of like, I mean, look, if you said Israel over Muslims, right? Mm-hmm. Which of the two do you think has been a bigger net positive to America?
Oh, well, it has to be Israel, absolutely.
Okay, so
and I agree with you. Like, I think there are a lot of people that are critical of Israel that are reluctant to acknowledge the good that Jews do. And I think that Jews they're brilliant. Many of them are brilliant.
So when I'm saying net positive, I'm talking jobs, economy. How often you hear about crime, what they do. Like if you have a choice between living in a city in Minnesota, Dearborn, and living in, I don't know what's the biggest city. What's the city that, Boca Raton, let's just say, right? If you have a choice between raising your family between Dearborn and Boca Raton, where do you choose?
Boca Raton,
okay,
of course,
so the point is like they go to a place. And by the way, to me, if that was Muslims, guess what? I would say Muslims. Mm-hmm. But statistically, wherever they live, it's safer, things are nicer, things get better.
I agree.
And that is one part to measure where they're at. Now, do I see them overly aggressive? Do I see them the type that are going to use politicians and buy them like Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people are saying? 100%. Do I see them, they're going to be there in everyone's DM and email saying, hey, we'd love to support you. We'd love to bring you to Israel and, doing all that stuff? It's obvious. I'm seeing it myself, okay? Do I look at that and shame them and say, oh, you shame on? I look at that and say, no, I wish Armenians would do that. I've never gotten an invitation from Prime Minister of Armenia. He should probably send me an invite to go there, right? It's not a bad idea to come and show the country. I'm Armenian. I'm a Syrian. Syrians don't have a country. It's probably a good idea.
Damn. Oh my God, that's not what I was expecting to hear, because basically the Nick Fuentes guy is kind of like admitting that the Jews are productive people and that they succeed not through some malicious whatever, just because they succeed. Maybe they have some networking and everything. His only problem is that he's assuming that the Jews are doing it to their own benefit rather than to the benefit of the United States. But Patrick Bet-David there is even again on that, he's not necessarily saying it's a problem that Israel at least is trying to advocate for what it sees as right. Like, come to Israel, we'll show you, this is our position, this is what we think is right. And if America agrees with that, then that's on America, like not the Jews or not Israel. I would suggest humbly that sometimes Israeli and American interests do actually coincide, right? Like not everything that's good for Israel is terrible for America. Like intelligence sharing versus jihadists who want to blow things up, like the Twin Towers, which was done by Saudis and others and not done by the Jews, as people say. I think that's a good thing. I think most of the peoples in the Middle East hate America and what it stands for. They'll take American support on a governmental level, as Egypt and Jordan do, but the citizens very much hate a lot of things about America, and the Israelis admire America. So I would say that the goals very often do coincide, sometimes not. I think for sure Israel will try to advocate and say, we cooperate in technology, we cooperate in intelligence, in science, and academia, that the radical jihadists want to destroy us both, and therefore we have a lot of shared strategic goals. Patrick Bet-David said that's okay that they're trying to do that. I wish Armenia would try to do that as well. That's not on them. That's on us, America, that we quote, bend to the Israeli will, even though I don't think that's the case. I also would disagree very much with what Nick said there regarding this idea that it's the Jews first versus the country. I mean, do you think someone like Steven Spielberg is doing what he's doing in Hollywood for the Jews and, he's not American? I just don't think that's the case. I mean, I can't speak for myself because I grew up in Israel, so I view myself as Israeli, right? I don't know, like when you're a Jew growing up in the US or whatever, but I don't think you see so many people who've been in positions in government and so forth to say that they don't care about America, they just want what's good for the Jews or for Israel rather than for America. I don't think that's fair. Or in other places, go back to the First World War. Jews fought in the German army and died in the German army. And then Hitler came later and said, "Well, we lost because of the Jews. They stabbed us in the back. They were actually fighting for some globalist and Rothschild kind of entity," as he said there. That's not the case, and I feel like that's kind of the key in the sort of anti-Semitic flavor of a lot of these things is, as he said himself, he acknowledged Jews are successful. A lot of the time, they're successful on their own merit. They have communities and they cooperate. The problem is when you make the assumption, and without really evidence all the time, right, that all of that is done in order to prop up the Jews and to put down everybody else. It's all done just for Israel and damn with America or something like that. That's the element of it that's problematic, which of course someone like Nick Fuentes would say, right? He would say, oh, there isn't a problem that they succeed and they have community networks. The problem is that they're doing it for themselves and F everybody else. That's the problem. And that's kind of what everyone is constantly insinuating, right? AIPAC has all this power. They want only what's good for Israel, not what's good for America. They have all of this influence, and they're constantly using their influence in order to do things that are terrible for the US and are only good for the Jews. If the Jew is in Hollywood and he's in the media, and one guy's in this and one guy's in that, their network, they're constantly getting together in this room in order to promote what's good for them and what's bad for everybody else. That's the problem. That's the essence of the kind of Jew-hating stream that we're seeing right now in places like Twitter. For sure. Because they'll do it. They'll do a list. Look at all these Jews in positions of power. One is in government. One is in the media. One's in Hollywood. One's in finance. And they have connections between them. Maybe. But are they all getting together and have a secret Telegram group where they're trying to enrich the Jews as an entity and trying to put everyone else down? No. And there never is any evidence of that. And that's the crucial point. And that's a crucial point because we see Fuentes is basically acknowledging there that they succeed, they build thriving, safe communities, they contribute. His problem is that they're doing all that to the benefit of themselves and to harm everybody else. And Patrick Bet-David kind of called him out on that. He said, no, that's not necessarily the case. And if someone in Israel, right, not the Jews in America, is advocating for something and we agree, then at the end of the day, that's on us, not on them. It's their job to advocate for what's good for them. And I wish my countries that are affiliated with media, Syrian community, Armenians, would do more of that. So there you go. But yeah, no, it wasn't as bad as I expected from Nick Fuentes. Just that element that we talked about, that is the element that is kind of not proving in reality that he obviously has stuck in his head, and so do many other people online. All right, folks, thank you very much for watching. Interesting clip. See you next time. Like, subscribe. Bye-bye.